So today we go on to chapter 8, Emotional Independence. So this is an essay. An essay is a cross-section. We bringing together all the related suttas and we try to see how they're connected with the common teaching, in other words. So in this translation series, we have two approaches. One is we study the sutta itself, which is sort of an integrated or vertical approach, if you like. And this is a horizontal approach where we compare different suttas to see a common teaching. Right? Emotional independence is a modern term. It's not actually that modern because it is based on the term used in the sutta itself. The term is aparapachaya. Aparapachaya. Let me write the word on the board. Very useful to remember some of these terms. They're not very difficult. After a while you get used to them. Apara, pachaya. Apara, in the front meaning not. And then pachaya, para means others, not others. That means nothing to do with other people. Pachaya means dependent. So if you translate to good English, more idiomatic English, independent of others. And this is a very important term in Buddhist psychology. We might say important term in our emotional health. In other words, we don't depend on others for our happiness. We are simply happy. We are inwardly happy. The happiness comes from inside, not outside. In early Buddhism, you often see this contrast between inside and outside. Okay? Another way of talking is self-help, other help. Alright? So early Buddhism, in other words, focus on self-help. The Buddha is saying you can help yourself. That is why the Buddhas come into the world. We can help ourselves. Why? Because goodness is possible. Now look at the first sutta here on page 8. Right? It says the Buddha in the Loka Asada Sutta, A3.102. But bhikshus, if there were no gratification in the world, beings would not be attached to this world. The meaning is that this world seems to have some kind of satisfying quality. So people look for that kind of gratification. They seek that kind of satisfaction. Okay? Page 8. Then, third line, but bhikshus, because there is gratification in the world, beings are attached to this world. Right? So because of that we get attached. Bhikshus, if there were no danger in the world, beings would not be repulsed with this world. Right? So, although the world provides things which entice us, nice things. What are these nice things? They are aspects of the five senses. Something we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, they attract us. So there is the danger here. Here danger means they are impermanent, but we try to regard them as permanent. That's the danger, right? And this is very subtle. We will say, no, well, we know they are impermanent, but yet we act as if they are permanent. Then further down, bhikshus are the monks. If there were no escape from the world, beings could not escape from the world. So this is the positive side. Okay? It is possible to get out of this situation. Right? That's the good news. And then further down, but bhikshus, because there is an escape from the world, beings can escape from this world. But bhikshus, so long as the world's beings have directly known, as it really is, gratification as gratification, the danger as danger, escape as escape, then you can be free from suffering. In other words, you've got to know the world as it is. Number one, know the nature of the world. The world is such, we get attracted to it. Take, for example, see how beautiful this room is. Nice floor, everything nicely arranged, just right, aircon, right? You got to come in without your shoes. Yeah? But imagine if something got spilled on the floor, or the aircon doesn't work, you feel very uncomfortable, right? So there's also that problem that goes with it. And the third one is you can be free of these problems. In other words, meditate it properly, or be able to meditate, do your puja, wherever you are, so to speak. Okay? So here, know the world as it is. Now, sometimes people say, oh, Buddhists try to run away from the world, right? Well, in the first place, actually, they don't like Buddhism anyway, so whatever they say is always negative, no matter how you try to correct them. But we still need to tell them what is right, what is wrong. Because here the word world doesn't mean, well, let's say world has three meanings, okay? The first meaning is a physical world of space and time. That's the kind of world you cannot really get out of, it's there. Okay? So we're not running away from that world. We still got to eat, for example. Okay? We still talk to people, right? We don't run away from that kind of world. The second kind of world is the world of people, okay? And the third kind of world is called the world of sankhara, formations. The world of formation. This is what the Buddha is talking about. On a simple level, we can say the world here in this, what we have just mentioned here from the Sutta, Loka Asada Sutta, the world here refers to our five senses. In other words, what is our world? Our world is made up of our five senses. Our world is made up of what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch. And we should add the sixth one, the mind, what we think. So there are six senses altogether. Five physical senses plus one mental sense, or mental faculty. So this is our world. That's all there is, this world. But this world is impermanent. We should not get attached to it, in other words. So this is the beginning of the teaching here. It is possible to get out of this kind of situation by not being tricked by our senses. Take them as impermanent. Our body changes, our eyesight changes, our sounds, our ears change, everything changes in our body. Accept it as it is, then take care of it, and you'll be okay. So this is a basic idea of seeing things as they really are. So, as long as we see in this way, we reflect the impermanence of all these things, we are safe. In fact, you notice we all have been to so many talks, in different temples. We have heard from some famous teachers, not so famous teachers, all kinds of Dharma talks, some are interesting, some not so interesting. But yet we are not enlightened after so many years. We wonder when we are enlightened listening to all these talks. Well, the point is to awaken, to be enlightened, we need to just one simple practice. If all these teachers really practice, in other words, they know their stuff, then they definitely would agree with the suttas. When they read the sutta says, you have to reflect on impermanence. Reflect on impermanence regularly. This is the main practice we should do, especially lay people. This is the basic practice. In other words, it includes monastics also. They also should practice impermanence. Of course, monastics can go a little further in their practice, they go deeper in their meditation. So this reflection on impermanence is able to bring us awakening in this life itself, and that awakening is called stream winning. Stream winning, or stream entrance, entering the stream. This is a term we must get used to, and today we're going to spend a bit of time talking about this stream winning. Yeah? First stage of awakening, the very first stage of the path. In the earlier lessons, you remember a number of suttas say that if you have not attained stream winning onwards, in other words, three meaning, once return, non-return, arahat, on the path, really walking the Eightfold Path, you are still an outsider. Not member yet, in other words. Now the Buddha didn't say outcast, he said outsider. It means we are standing admiring the nice facade of the temple, or this building, or this university. We are not in yet, okay? We're applied, yes. We're on the way, but not in yet, okay? So that is why the word for Buddhist follower is upasaka. The male upasaka, female upasika. Upa, very close to English word up close. And upasaka is one who sits up close to the Buddha, to the teacher, so they can listen well to the Dharma. Okay? And this is very interesting because lately, these few days, I've been having a conversation with some interesting monks, we are Ajahn Sujato, Ajahn Brahmari, Analayo, and one nun, because this Bhante Analayo sent me this really wonderful article on how the word bhikkhu is used in the suttas. Whenever the Buddha says bhikkhu or monks, the Buddha always addresses the monks. So some people say, oh, the suttas are only for the monks. Now we should not study suttas. And sometimes when you hear some people saying, oh, lay people should not meditate, only the monks meditate. I wonder how many suttas have they read to say that. Because definitely the suttas again and again say that meditation is a second training, right? You have first training is the precept, second training is meditation, third training is wisdom. So here, when the Buddha said bhikkhus, this is what is called an idiomatic plural vocative. Idiomatic plural vocative. In other words, it's a plural way, multiple way of addressing the crowd. When the Buddha said monks, he's addressing everyone present. Monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen. But monks are addressed first because they are the senior most. They are the first to come to the Buddha, remember? The first teaching, they listened to the first teaching and they became arahats. So the word monks refer to everyone, not just the monks alone. Okay? And this is a very common way of teaching, a very common convention in the suttas. So you have the monks, the nuns, and the novices and so on. This is one way of training. You can call this the express package, if you like, for a simple modern term. Express package. So in other words, you have to be, if you really want to be awakened in this life itself, really serious about it, then you would find a good teacher, become a monk or a nun. Okay, so you take the highway to awakening. That means what? That means you're going to keep extra precepts. Why you want to keep extra precepts? Because you want to prepare yourself better for meditation. Right? Because precept deals with body and speech. The precepts help us to discipline and calm our body and speech so that we have little or no trouble with our body and speech. So when you sit down very calmly, you find you're very comfortable, then you're ready to fully focus on the mind. That is a second training, the mind training or training in meditation. So the monks have extra precepts, the nuns have even more precepts, because these precepts simply to help them prepare themselves physically for mental training, meditation. They go into meditation regularly, to deep meditation, and try to attain jhana. Jhana or dhyana is a very deep meditation where you totally let go of the body, in a sense you don't feel any more pain, it's total joy, very peaceful. And when you come out of this very wonderful, peaceful mind, your mind is very clear, you can see things, true reality more clearly. Wisdom arises. So this is the way of the monks. It's not easy, it's difficult, right? But it's possible. Of course, for most of us here, we have decided not to take a package for various reasons, right? So we are taking package B. Package B is called the normal package, right? If you like, the layman package. But I don't call it layman package because it's also possible for monks who are not good in meditation, who can take this package. So this is package B, the normal package. So what's the difference here? The express package, package A, especially for monastics and for lay people who are willing to go a little deeper into renunciation, renounced life. In other words, they live like monks and nuns. Okay? Then they attain all these jhanas and great joy. They don't need physical pleasure, sexual pleasure. They are easily contented with whatever they have. So this is and then this leads to non-return and arhat. Become like a Buddha. Whereas package B, that is for lay people to practice, it leads to stream winning and one's return. What does this mean? Stream winning means you will never be reborn into the lower realms, into the subhuman realms. Subhuman realms is about animal realms, asura state, the demons, the ghost state, the pretas, and the hell state suffering. Okay? You will not be reborn in the subhuman planes. Because once you fall into the subhuman planes, it's very difficult, a lot of suffering. And you're going to get caught there very long, because there's no way of practicing the Dharma. So your mind is going to be living in fear and ignorance for a long, long time. So it's very difficult. So we don't want to fall into that state. Human state and higher is quite okay. So it's called stream winning because we descend, so to speak, into this boat. The boat is the Eightfold Path. And this boat follows a stream. This is purely a figurative language comparison. This boat is on the stream. The stream flows downwards into the ocean of Nirvana. Within 7 lives, we can attain awakening, become arhats, become a Buddha. Okay? In other words, we are preparing ourselves. Now, 7 lives can be very wrong, because 1 life can be, sometimes you're born in the heavens, can be as long as 1 whole cycle, for example. So 7 lives is kind of relative. Yeah? So this second package, stream winning package, entails the breaking of the 3 fetters. Okay? So now if you look at page 9, is that correct, page 9?
Yes.
Yeah. Look at the bottom, section 212. These are the 10 fetters. Fetters are like those ball and chain of the prisoner. Huh? So it is as if we have 10 fetters holding us back from becoming free. So look at the 10 fetters first. Now you don't have to know all of them. Most important are the first 3. The first fetter, or the first ball and chain that imprison us to the suffering world, is called self-identity view. Self-identity view. What does self-identity view mean? It simply means we identify with our body or our mind. We say my body, my mind. Okay? That's the meaning here. Number 2, spiritual doubt. Always doubting, in other words, we are not able to learn, not willing to learn. Number 3, attachment to rituals and vows, or in a word, superstition. Sometimes 2 and 3 are reversed. Okay, so these are the first 3, most important. Make a note. Then number 4, sensual lust, that means attached to the physical aspects of the body. And then aversion is opposite hatred. So you've got greed and hatred, 4 and 5 if you like. Now let me explain the first 5. So these first 5, they are called the lower fetters. Okay? These first 5, they keep us stuck in the world of senses, our sense world, the world that we're living in here. Now, the stream winner breaks the first 3 fetters. He has no more self-identity view, no spiritual doubt, no more attachment to rituals and vows. We're going to talk more about this today. Okay, more details. So that is the stream winner. 7 more lives to go only. However, if this stream winner, say he does a bit more meditation, or is able to understand suttas better, then he cuts down a bit more of the three roots. Remember the three roots? Greed, hate, delusion. Greed, hate, delusion. So here you have greed and hate. Yeah? So he cuts down a bit more of these three roots, then it becomes a once returner. Once returner means return one more time only to this world, and it's to finish off his karma, and he becomes awakened. Right? So this is the first package. This is the normal package. No? Or should I say the second package rather, from what I mentioned earlier. This is the second package, the normal package, dealing with the first 5 fetters, or if you like, just the 3 fetters also can. Then number 6, greed for form existence. And notice number 7 is the opposite, greed for formless existence. This has to do with meditation. In deep meditation, jhana or dhyana meditation, the meditator can attain the form world or go higher, formless world. This is a very deep meditation where they have transcended the body, so they experience what's called pure form. Light, for example, is a kind of form. So it's like they're like devas, so to speak. They're so happy. And then the formless world is one more refined kind of existence, where the beings there exist, pure energy form, if you like. So these meditators, when they experience this in their mind, they say, wow, these are great states, I want to be reborn there. So they get attached to this. So if you get attached in this way, you will still get caught up in this world. But it's not really that bad relatively speaking, because you're still on the way to awakening, but it slows you down. Number 8 is conceit. Now conceit is measuring of ourselves against others, right? So conceit is a very tricky kind of attitude. We always look around and we measure people. We say, oh, I'm better than this person. And then, or maybe you meet someone and say, wow, this person is better than me. And sometimes you meet someone, you say, oh, I'm as good as this person. So we're always kind of measuring people from what we see of them, even for a short moment. So this is called conceit. Now even the great saints have conceit. Only the Arhat doesn't have conceit. But their conceit is kind of mild, if you like, compared to ours. It's just like, let's say if you're a stream winner, you're going to look around and you say, oh, look at all these people, how come they're not interested in suttas? So don't they know they're going to suffer, be reborn in the lower worlds, and you feel like you can feel a bit superior because of that. It's not exactly bad karma, but it's not going to help you either way. So you still have a bit of conceit, right? Or let's say you're doing good, you're helping somebody, this person is suffering, you're helping this person, but at the same time you say, oh, look at this poor person, he's so unlucky, right? And I'm the lucky one. So when you compare that, it is still some kind of conceit. It's not exactly bad, but it somehow, if you continue doing this, it can create some problem, okay? Because we measure people afterwards. So this is conceit. The Arhat totally has no conceit. In other words, where the Arhat is concerned, no matter whoever comes to the Arhat, he helps, he talks, he answers, just like another human being. Okay? Number 9 is restlessness or remorse, if you like. So this is an uneasiness. You may or may not notice this, some of the monks you are close to. The closer you are to a monk or a nun, especially you go for their teachings or retreats, or you take care of them, you begin to know more about them. I don't know whether you noticed that or not. You begin to see their personal characteristics. You can even read their minds, so to speak, And I've been very close to monks all my life, And I feel very happy talking with them. But at the same time, I can't help noticing they're just like us. They have their weaknesses, they have their strength, they have their bad temper and good temper. They try very hard to be good, definitely. But you notice all this. Okay? And when you notice this, sometimes you feel a little sad about it. You feel restless. Okay? This is because you are good. This is because you care for goodness. The more kind you are, the more compassionate you are, the more restless you become when you see suffering. And this is the whole story about Kuan Yin and Avalokitesvara. It's a beautiful story. Okay? For example, there is a story of Avalokitesvara in India, the old story, older than the Kuan Yin story. the story goes that this prince, Avalokitesvara, he saw so much suffering in the world that he really felt so sad. And he just broke into tears. And the story, when he was so sad, these Indians were very dramatic in their story, that his head split into 11 pieces. But he's no ordinary being. So his head split into 11 pieces. His father, the father of Avalokitesvara, in this case Amitabha, he goes around collecting all these 11 pieces and put them together, but he missed one, because he couldn't find one missing. It happens to be, there's an animal nearby. He took the animal, said the poor animal has to donate his head and put it there. So if I want the heads, it's not human. See? So there were all these interesting stories in this kind of Buddhism. So you see, Avalokitesvara has 11 faces. But then, after many, many years of studying Buddhism, I realized they're not real faces like yours and mine. I mean, we talk about Avalokitesvara, Kuan Yin with 11 faces, 6 arms, 1,000 arms. Imagine if Kuan Yin with 1,000 arms and 11 faces really came to the door here, what would you do? You'd be terrified, right? But Kuan Yin is just an image. It's a figure of compassion. It's not a real person like us. It's real in the sense of mental power, yes. Compassion is as real as you feel it, as you act on it. My point is, these 11 faces represents the 11 directions, universality.
What's the 11?
You start with the front, right, back, left, or north, east, south, west, 4 directions. And then directions in between?
Yes, 8.
And then above, below?
10.
10, okay.
Yes.
That's called the 10 directions.
Yes.
So we say Buddhas of 10 directions. But loving kindness, compassion, you must have it too. So you are number 11, yourself. Okay? 11 is yourself. 10 is all the surrounding directions, 11 is yourself. So you must have that compassion inside you, you must have the loving kindness inside you. Then only you can show it up. Okay? So the 11 directions represent universality. In Chinese they use the word Puman, also the all around door. And then the 1,000 arms means trying to help people in various skillful means in various ways. So you find here compassion and action made into a kind of symbols. Okay? So my point here is that if you have a lot of compassion, you're very kind, you tend to be more troubled, seeing suffering and lack of perfection in others. Right? If you, for example, you're a Dharma teacher, you look at people ignorant, suffering, or you're a counselor, you ask yourself, why can't they do this? Why can't they be happy? We have that kind of uneasiness. So also, the saints. For example, there's a case of this, one of those famous early saints. He came to hear the Buddha teaching. His teacher has sent him to listen to the Buddha. And he's very close to his teacher. His teacher is far away in south of India, didn't come along, he was too old. So he was listening to the Buddha, and then he came to this point where he's going to be enlightened, he's going to awaken, he's going to become an arahat, you know. He listens, wow, this teaching is really beautiful. But at the moment of awakening, then he thought about his teacher. He says, oh, if only my teacher was here. It's a pity he missed all this, you know. Now because he had the attachment to the teacher at that moment when he could have got enlightened, he became only a non-returner. Otherwise he could be an arahat, see. But it's still not too bad, you know. But the point here is that in the great, even the great saints, short of arahathood, they sometimes have compassion for others, and that troubles them. Compassion also means sometimes we are troubled by suffering of others. Okay? So that's number 9.
So you're saying remorse is remorse from seeing the suffering of others?
Correct.
And that is a fetter?
Yes. This is a fetter broken by the arahat. It's a very subtle fetter. So the arahat is very calm. He is not troubled by it anymore. Okay? So we're talking about the arahat is very peaceful, but even a non-returner can have a bit of concern for others.
But that is a concern that arises out of compassion and loving
Exactly.
kindness. So it's like a catch-22.
Exactly. If you are a surgeon who's cutting up somebody you cannot get frightened or excited if you see blood flowing. You've got to be very calm. That's the meaning, see? You've got to be completely calm. We're talking about the Arhat here. Okay? The Arhat is very calm. That's the meaning. Okay? And the last one is ignorance, number 10. Here, ignorance doesn't mean not knowing modern science or Pali. I mean, there are great scholars, who know more Pali than any of us here, who can analyze word down to great details and compare to all kinds of other languages in ancient India and beyond. But they're not enlightened. After they finish their tenure, after finish the teaching schedule, they retire and they go and weed their gardens. They're not interested in practicing meditation. So they have all this great wisdom, but they're not enlightened. And yet there are great forest monks who don't know Pali, who don't know what Sandhi is even, but they are the ones who are teaching us these great teachings. So we're not talking about knowledge of the books. Knowledge of the books are helpful, yes. We're talking about the practice of calming and clearing the mind. And it's not knowing the Four Noble Truths that brings suffering. So these are the 10 factors as a quick glance. Alright, coming back to our essay today. So, how do we enter the stream? By breaking the first 3 fetters. So, now let us look at what the 3 fetters are. Page 11.
Page 10.
Page 10, the 3 fetters. Can you see brackets 1, 2, 3 there? Number 1, self-identity view. Brackets 2, spiritual doubt. Brackets 3, attachment to rituals and vows. So they're all given there in summary. I'm going to talk about them a bit at length. I'm going a bit slowly so that you can follow. Okay, number 1, the very first fetter. That's the most important one. I'm quite convinced that that's the real fetter you have to break. Because once you break that fetter, number 2 and 3 also follow. Okay? Let me explain. Self-identity view. It doesn't just say self-view, because self-view is much bigger. Self-view includes self-identity view and also the idea that there's something permanent and abiding, the idea of an eternal self. Self-view in Pali is called Attanuditi. It's written on the board. Sometimes the 2 terms overlap, they have the same meaning sometimes. Silabbata Paramasa and Attanuditi. Now, the 2 words here, Sakkaya, Ditti. Now, the easier one here is Ditti. Ditti means view. View means what we see. Whenever you view something, let's say this building, we put this building, the nicest part, the most beautiful facade on the outside, right? So people pass by, they say, wow, look at this nice building. It's so beautiful, they think it's a country club. I mean, why can't they think it's a temple? The temple also looks beautiful, right? So, temple, looking beautiful, people are attracted to it, they come. So, this is only one view, see? But when they come in, they see another view, they say, wow, it's very peaceful. Okay? So, in other words, the view is only one way of looking at something. One aspect, just looking at the mountain, we look at one aspect of it, but there are many aspects, many views of the mountain, right? So we may like one view, but the other view could be liked by someone else. So views are like that. Once you have a view, you find there are others who have different views. Number 1, you have to understand. Number 2, right now we have a certain view, but I guarantee you from my experience, that's the blessing of age, that you will change your opinion in the years to come. You have done that before. I mean, if you look at yourself, I look at myself when I was young, every 10 years more or less, you find we have changed our views over time. And we need to. That's how we grow. We grow by changing our views from one view to another view. We change the view because there are better ways of looking at things, because we understand things better. Remember there was a time you thought, oh, there are ghosts, I'm going to be attacked by them. And they say, oh, these are not real. You have let go of that view. So that you have given up childhood, you have become adult. And so on. So we build our wisdom that way. The wiser you become, the more views you let go. Okay? Until the end, you're enlightened, no more views. That's a bit ahead. We're not going to go into that direction here. Okay, so that's view, ditti. Views, all views are provisional. Very important. That's why Buddhism is tolerant in that sense, because as Buddhists we accept the fact that all views are provisional.
And conditional.
Conditional, yes. Okay? What does that mean? That means, okay, this is our working view. We use this. Someone else uses another view, fine. So we respect whatever ways people want to practice Buddhism. Of course, some views are better than others. Some views are clearer, some views are not so clear. So of course we can talk about them, what's right, what's wrong, compare, no problem, but we do it in a respectful way, we do it in a helpful way. We don't kill each other just because we worship different Buddhas, or because we go to different temples, we don't do that. Right? So views are provisional and conditional. Now the difficult word is sakkaya. Sakkaya means identity. In other words, we tend to identify with ourselves. Here, what do we identify? This is where you need to know the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates is a little detailed way of looking at mind and body. You want to understand the 5 aggregates, start with a very simple question. What really am I? Not who, no what. What really am I? I have a mind, I have a body. We all accept that, okay? I have a body, right? We all know that. Next thing is I know I have a body. That knowing is the mind. So the mind and the body. Now, if you take the body as form, that's one aggregate. Because body is a set of things, like you can look at the body as 5 senses. You can also look at the body as the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, wind. So these are aggregates. That's why they're called form aggregate. Body is form aggregate. Then you have the mind. The mind, you have feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. These are called the formless aggregates. The mind, if you like. Okay? So, form, we have form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. Okay, once again, very quickly, how do they relate? We have a body. And this body is conscious body. Because the body is conscious, it has feelings. Number 2nd aggregate, yeah? Feelings. But how do we know their feelings? It's because we have perception, we perceive. In other words, we remember, we recall something in the past, and then we look at something happening now, and then we say, I like this, I don't like this, I don't care about this. So because of this perception from the past, we have feelings in the present. So you have body, feeling, perception. Now, we don't just have feeling and perception. After a while, we might say, oh, I want this, it's very nice, I don't want to let go of this. Then greed has come in. That is formation. Formation means you form ideas. That means there is karma. So karma arises through the 3 doors: body, speech, and mind. This karma can arise through thinking, through speaking, through bodily action. And this karma is bad when it is rooted in 3 ways: either greed, hate, or delusion. If you do something out of greed, bad karma. You do something rooted in hatred, bad karma. You do something rooted in delusion, bad karma. These are formations. Okay? In other words, feeling arises, anger arises, you say, okay, this is anger, I'm not going to get attached to it, I'm letting it go. No bad karma. Even though anger arises, anger will arise naturally. When it arises, still not bad karma, but when you decide to act on it, you say, oh yeah, this is good, and then you act on it, bad karma. But when anger arises, you say, no, I don't want this anger, I'm letting go of it, there are no formations, no karma formations. Okay, so this is the 4th aggregate. Once again, form, feeling, perception, formation. The last one is consciousness. Consciousness is like the stage underlying all these other four aggregates. Consciousness is the basic awareness of our whole being. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. They make us conscious. So these are the five aggregates. So Sakkaya Ditthi means people tend to identify themselves with one of these five aggregates, either form, feeling, perception, formation, or consciousness. For example, some of them may say, oh, my body is myself. I am my body. Body equals the self. Body equals the soul. This is the most common belief in Singapore now, you may be surprised. Body and self are the same. This is a materialistic view. Okay? In other words, when the body dies, the self, the soul also dies. No future life. Okay? Then some other people may say, oh no, the self or the soul is independent of the body. Okay? So it's eternal. And so on. So there are different kinds of self-belief. Here, if you want to awaken, in other words, we should not identify with any of these five aggregates or any of the senses. On a simple level, what we can say is, I'm not really my body, I'm not really my mind. Okay, this is easier said than done. I mean, literally. Right? Let me explain further. Now, what do we mean when we say I'm not my body? Well, we say my body, Let me give a simple example. Let's say someone is a smoker, he smokes a lot, and you tell him to stop smoking and says, why should you care? This is my body, I can do what I like with it. It is a very good way of helping this person, For example, you can say, it's not really your body, Number one, when you smoke, other people also breathe in the smoke. Secondary smoking also causes cancer, for example. And number two, if you die, you don't just evaporate, Somebody got to clear your body away. There are duties, So, do you really own your body in that sense, right? And there's another interesting point, If you really own your body, then you can anytime, you full control yourself and say, I'm going to stop smoking. And you can. But it's not easy, right? We can't tell our eyes, don't get short-sighted. We can't tell our ears, don't lose your sense of hearing. We can't tell ourselves, don't get sick. Our body won't listen. Our body, in a sense, has its own way. We seem to have some control, but not really. This body has a shelf life. That's the meaning. Of course, we can still be healthy. There's no problem with that. There's a lot of teaching in Buddhism telling the monks to stay healthy. Right? The point here is that we should not be unduly attached to the body, because it won't work that way. This body is meant to be happily used. It comes, it goes. Then we get a new one next life, no need to worry. Okay? But then it goes on and on, and if you look back, the Buddha said, how many bodies you had, So, it's not your body anyway. So, now what about the mind? Can we say, oh, I am my mind, these are my thoughts? Yeah, in the manner of speaking, we can. Conventionally speaking, we can. But then again, I keep changing my mind. I keep changing my views. You keep changing your views. So how can you say it's your views, right? So we're just saying views, okay? Of course, it's convenient for us to stick big names to the views, and this philosopher says like that teacher talks like that. But ultimately, they're just views. So even the mind is more tricky, it changes so much. So where can we invest ourselves? We cannot take any of this as ourselves. So here, the Buddha didn't make this into a rule or teaching. He's saying this is a fact. He's just pointing out a fact. If you get attached to your body and your mind, you'll never be awakened. What the Buddha is saying, this is the cause of suffering. When someone comes to you for counseling, especially if you're a counselor, social worker, or you listen to people telling you the problems, you find it's either related to body or mind. And there's always some kind of attachment identifying body or mind. Someone will tell you, this person hurt me, this person did this to me, my something is lost. I, me, mine. That is called identifying. I, me, mine. You use I, me, mine. So to correct this, we practice disowning the pain. Don't own the pain. Don't own the pain means don't identify with the pain. Don't identify with the body. Don't identify with the source of pain or the arising of pain. Take it simply as arising, passing away. Look at ourselves now. You're sitting here on your own free will. Some of you come here by accident. Very often I know people who come into my class by accident, you know. There was one boy, you know, he wanted to go for a Christian meeting in one of the tertiary institutions. And he came right into our hall and says, "Is this a Christian meeting?" I said, "No, it's a Buddhist meeting." I said, "Oh, never mind, any meeting will do it. Sit down and listen." I said, "Very good, good comer." So these things happen to us, you know, we let it happen. Alright? So, coming back to this factor again. So I was talking about identifying people who are suffering, right? They were saying, okay, my suffering, I, me, mine. So you got to disown this pain, right? Simply talk in terms of pain as it is. What is really troubling you? Be objective about it. In other words, don't subjectify it. Don't make it bigger than it is. That's the meaning. Okay? A very simple example is anger. When you become angry, you do this. This is a wonderful practice. Note the anger. This is anger. That's the first thing you must do. This is anger. Don't say, "I'm angry." When you say, "I'm angry," you're going to get more angry. This is anger. Number two, this is not good. I don't want. Here you can say, I don't want this anger. I'm letting go of it. Or simply say, letting go of it also can. You just say things like that. I don't want this anger. It is not good for me. I'm letting go of it. By the time you say the third sentence, half the anger is gone at least. And the other half very easy to manage. So, this is mind control. Alright? Disowning the pain. That's how you overcome the self-identity view in a very simple way. Okay? So, now, the next one is doubt, spiritual doubt. Okay, this is on page, is it 16? Mine's a new printing. 16, spiritual doubt, section 4. 15. Now, doubt means uncertainty. We're not sure. Okay? Well, one reason we're not sure is because we don't remember well. Okay? We can't remember exactly what we heard. Number two, we have doubt because we heard something, but it is not supported by related action, right? So we have doubtful. Someone said something but doesn't act on it. Or one teacher says this and the teacher says that. We also have doubts, uncertainty. Okay? So how do we overcome doubts? To look at 4.2.2, 6 ways of overcoming doubts. Number one, much learning. Great learning, right? So learn as much as you can. Nowadays, I would advise people to read Buddhist books.
4.2.1.
Yeah, 4.2.2. Page 16. 6 ways of overcoming doubts. Okay, learn as much as you can. Try your best to study the suttas. Don't give up on the suttas. Yeah? You know, I have people coming all the way from US, from the Americas, you know, from France, from Israel. They come all the way to Singapore. They say, you know, before I came here, I went to the university, asked the professor, where in Singapore can I study suttas? They say, go to the mining center. Well, we are famous worldwide now. And it's not the first time I've been told this, you know. Someone from the US came over here, asked, I think from Wisconsin University. So this lady asked, where can she learn suttas in Singapore? They said, go to mining center. And this Israeli young man also left Israel to work here. And he was told, come to the mining center to learn suttas. They want to learn suttas because they know the suttas are the primary source of Buddhism. It's not opinions of others. People will say anything about Buddhism today, even non-Buddhists write books about Buddhism. And you find one of the Buddhist texts called the Dhammapada is one of the most translated religious texts in the world. Almost every great name want to translate this text. It's not an easy text to translate, although they are mostly quatrains. They appear simple, but there are very profound teachings there. So if you carefully look at some of the verses, you find these people don't really know what they're translating. They're just doing it for the money, which is really sad. Right? So this is so it creates more doubts. So it is important for us to have learning, to understand the suttas well. Why do we read the suttas? To understand the Four Noble Truths. We learn the suttas today. Why? So that we can practice it and become happier ourselves. The purpose of studying the Dharma is to be happy, to be free from suffering, and to be able to help others. When you're happy, you help others better. When you're happy, you keep your precepts better. When you're happy, you meditate also better. So, first thing we do is got to learn to smile. If you can't look at the Buddha image, you find the real traditional Buddha images. Gentle smile, very important. Yeah. So that's got to do with learning. Number two, investigative questioning. The Pali word is paripuccakata. Paripucca means questioning again and again. Pari means all around. Just like perimeter, peri, that means question all around. Question again and again. So you go on questioning at the right time, proper way, then wisdom will arise. When you're not sure, ask. Sometimes we think we know something right, but we're surprised when we ask, because there's another way of looking at it. Number three, familiarity with the Vinaya, or with the precepts, if we like. Sometimes we don't understand the precept. We simply say, oh, don't kill, don't steal, no sexual misconduct, don't lie, and don't get drugged and drunk, right? Then we might have wrong ideas. We say, oh, the precept means I should not get married, for example. That's the wrong view, see, right? And if you are not sure the precepts, and then you go on a retreat, and then you're hungry, you took a bite of an apple, and you feel so guilty you can't meditate. That's a silly, isn't it? So you've got to understand the nature of the precepts. What are they about? They're about steps of training. They're not there to punish us. The precepts are there to tell us these are the 5 things we are likely to be weak in, we're likely to have problems. So we've got to build ourselves up in these 5 ways. By cutting down killing because we love, because we respect life, we respect property, we respect personal freedom, we respect truth, and we respect mental clarity or wisdom. Right? Then number 4, great commitment. Okay, adimokha bahulata. Commitment. You must commit yourself to Buddhism if you value it. Okay? Now you all come here like once a week or in our sutta class. Every second and fourth Sundays, So that's commitment. If you can make it, you try your best. So commitment means it's a kind of renunciation. You set aside your time, your energy. You say, I'm going to spend this time studying sutta. And the more you can commit yourself in this way, the wiser you become. Because you learn more systematically. Same thing with your practice, your meditation, doing good things like this. Then spiritual friendship, having the right kind of friends, good friends, not negative friends. There are places where I teach, sometimes the people there will drag away the students. My class is very small. When you take away one person, 20% gone. Let's say 5 people, you take one person, it's quite a big percentage gone. So this person saying, oh, why you want to go for sutta class today? It's okay, let's go and see a movie. So there you are. It's not a spiritual friend. This is someone who is kind of taking you away from something that will bring you wisdom. A spiritual friend is someone who encourages you to do good, especially someone who helps you along in your meditation. Technically, the spiritual friend is your meditation teacher. And we talk about spiritual friendship is the connection, the growing connection between the meditation teacher and the meditation student. Okay? but it can be broadly taken as any kind of healing friendship, helping friendship that helps you to grow as an individual. Supportive talk. Well, we all sometimes need people to, we need someone to talk with, talk to. So you find it when people like to talk to monks and nuns because they're very supportive. Supportive means what? They point out your goodness. They don't find fault with you. Not too much anyway. They try to strengthen you. They say, look, these are your strong points. For example, not long ago, there was this lady, she went to this temple, and then the people she was so upset because people that didn't take place seriously. She wanted to leave. So I told her, I said, you should not leave, because if you leave, then you are concentrating the strength of the bad people. Then the wrong, there will be more bad people, more wrong people, so what kind of temple would it be? So you've got to remain there, be patient, because there are other good people there, make friends with them. Right? So we need to be supportive of other Buddhist workers, of any other human being for that matter. It's a wonderful habit, whenever you meet someone, you talk with them in a supportive way, and they feel very good, feel very happy with you. Okay? So these are the 6 ways of overcoming doubts. Much learning, investigative questioning, familiarity with the Vinaya and the precepts, great commitment to the Dharma, spiritual friendship, and supportive talk. Okay? Now, the third fetter to be broken is attachment to rituals and vows. Sila Bhatta. Okay? Sila here doesn't mean precept. Sila here means rituals, something we do regularly. That's a habit, yeah? A wrong habit. And then vata here is the same as vata is vow, kind of with aspirations, if you like. Paramasa means attachment, really kind of you're stuck with this idea, fixation. Yeah? So Siddhabhata Paramasa. It doesn't mean just because you like bowing down 3 times for the Buddha image is attachment to rules and rituals, not at all. Provided you understand the nature of your action. For example, when we bow down 3 times, first time you bow down, you say, I'm bowing down, remembering the Buddha, this is my gratitude to the Buddha as a teacher. Then second time you bow down to the Dharma, he has given us a Dharma, and I try my best to practice it. And the third time we bow down and say, there are the great saints, disciples of the Buddha, and I aspire to be one of the disciples as soon as possible. So when you do it in that sense, it's meaningful, it brings you happiness, it energizes you. It is not attachment to rituals and vows. Why? Because you internalize it. Attachment to ritual and vows means you externalize it. For example, take the case of the lady Vishaka. She could not have a baby, so what did she do? She went to a tree, and make offerings to the tree god, tree deity. Tree deities, as you know, are not very powerful. They couldn't give babies. So, for 1 year, this lady Vishaka didn't have any child. So when kind offerings didn't help, she decided to coax the spirit a bit more. She took an axe to the tree, said, you don't offer me a baby, I'm going to chop down this tree. And of course the tree gets chopped down, this poor deity will die. So they are very fragile beings. So the story goes that this deity was so terrified. This tree deity went up to Sakra and said, look, I have a problem here. This woman is going to cut down my tree. I can't give her a child. Then Sakra said, okay, let me see. Maybe someone could help her. Then he looks around, see which deva's karma is ripening and is going to die. And the story goes that this deva dies and was conceived in Vishaka's womb. This is an amazing story. Okay? This is a material story. It's not a canonical story. So take it as a fictional story if you like, but the moral is very interesting. So the deva passes away and is reborn as Vishaka's son, and later becomes Yasa, the great disciple of the Buddha. But remember, this is the story about the tree under which the Buddha was sitting. the story also went that later, after this Visakha had a child, they found the Buddha under the Bodhi tree. It's not Buddha yet actually, he's still a Bodhisattva, very thin, looks very skinny, struggling. You might say the day before awakening, you know. So the maid, Visakha's maid, saw the Bodhisattva Siddhartha and ran back to the lady and said, "My lady, the deity you made a vow to is there. She's waiting for your offering." So Visakha made this milk rice, a very special milk rice, or we call it nasi lemak, you know, and offered it to the ascetic Siddhartha, and that was his last meal before the awakening. Okay? So that is, anyway, the story is about Visakha's ritual and vow. So that's actually one example of how ritual and vow works. We externalize something. We think that our problem can be solved by wearing something like the Buddha image. Or we think that all the evil things you have done can be forgiven by making a big donation to the temple. For example, a robber, maybe rob a bank of, say, $10 million, and he donates 500,000 to the temple and feels good about it, his pictures come out, you know. But he still rob a bank, right? So we cannot externalize. We cannot look for answers to problems that arose inside us. We cannot look for the answers outside. We must solve it inside. The God idea is wrong, why? Because we look for the answer outside. The God idea is outside us, it's not inside us. But when you practice loving kindness, compassion, gladness, and equanimity, you are internalizing godliness. So the Buddha says, there's no way, there's no need to go up there to heaven. We won't last long there anyway. But by cultivating the four divine abodes, loving kindness, compassion, gladness, and equanimity, you have this godliness inside you. Isn't that a wonderful teaching? Internalize, not ritualize, not externalize, not to blame anyone out there, in other words, right? So overcoming rituals and vows also means we don't blame anybody for whatever's gone wrong with us. That's the meaning. Yeah?
But in the story we just told, we just say that it's okay if you cannot have a child, you can go and worship the tree and get a child.
Well, the story is meant to be funny. It's meant to be humorous. Visakha may or may not have done that, and it was a pre-Buddhist situation. It's just telling us about the way before the Buddha arose in the world. The Buddha is not endorsing that kind of behavior. So that's why we have to be very careful when we tell the stories. We must also say we're not endorsing this is a story. Okay?
Pre-Buddhist, you mean the story was around before?
No, I mean, the Visakha was there before the Buddha was awakened. Before the Buddha was awakened. He offered the Buddha the last minute. That's what I meant by pre-Buddhist. Okay? So, what we should do is work our way out, in other words. Now, there's a very interesting story here. Sometimes fairy tales can help us understand the Dharma better. Section 5.3.2. 532, page 24, is it? The story of Rapunzel. No, you all have heard of Rapunzel, right? Yeah. You know, the word Rapunzel is a kind of underground root. It's something like one of those, what is it? Like a reddish lettuce, a kind of lettuce. It's the name of this girl. Okay, fairy tales have deep meanings, of course. Here you find this man, his wife is pregnant, and you know, when you're pregnant, one day they want to eat strange things. So it happens that there was a witch living next door to the house, right? And she has got this beautiful garden, all kinds of vegetables. So the poor husband, who loves the wife very much, has to climb over the wall and steal the Rapunzel, the lettuce, you know, for the wife. Unfortunately, he got caught, and the witch threatened to kill him and kill the wife, unless the witch says, there's only one way out. You've got to give me something of value. What of greatest value to you? But this poor man said, I've got nothing of value. He said, yes, you have. Think carefully. Then he said, oh, the only thing of value I have is my child. My coming child. I said, yes, that's what I want. You promised to give me your coming child, and I'll let you go. Let both of you go. Well, what choice does this poor man have in this kind of situation? So I said, okay. So he went home and momentarily was happy, But then the child was born, and he had to give the daughter to the witch. Probably the witch herself came to claim anyway. So the witch took the child away. This is a typical story of a witch represents someone who couldn't have a child, and then she kind of adopts the child. So she imprisons the child in a tall tower. This tower has got no doors, only one window right at the top. There's no way up or down except through the window. And somehow she brings her food. And this child grows all the years until she reaches puberty, adolescence. She never cut her hair, so her hair grows long. And as she grows more mature, she also has this nice voice and she would sing. Then comes the prince. This prince comes along, hears the voice, attracted to the voice, and comes to the tower and sees, wow, this high tower, and sees this beautiful face up in the window. And then says, oh, can I talk to you, right? Says the prince, and then, how can I come and see you? Then the professor says, there's no way you can come up, but my hair is long enough, right? So she throws down long hair. So I suppose the hair is very long those days, you don't need any kind of tonic, hair washing thing, right? Long hair and a strong head too, I suppose. And so the prince climbs up and meets the princess, meets this Rapunzel. And the story went on, he does it secretly, and then they have a child. Then the witch finds out, because she's very angry. Why? Because to her, this girl is like a possession, like a pet, So she's very angry, and she casts away this prince. The prince was made blind and has to wander in the wilderness. Before that, Rapunzel has not given birth to the child, it seems. Then when she gives birth to the child, this even made the witch more angry. And she made Rapunzel blind also. And now Rapunzel with the child, wanders in the desert also. But somehow, as the story goes, they both meet each other. And the part where I'm not sure whether Rapunzel got blind also, probably not. Only the prince was blind. So Rapunzel meets the prince, and they're both so happy, they cry so much. And the tears are so powerful that the prince's eyes were healed. And it's a beautiful story how eyes get healed. I remember seeing a childhood movie called Michael Strogoff, I think, one of those Russian heroes, who was, for some reason, he was a Cossack, I think, and he was blinded for some reason, I can't remember. He was blinded with a hot, blazing sword over his eyes and kind of supposed to be blind. But as the years passed, his enemies thought he was blind, but at the end of the story, he could see when he started crying. Somehow his eyes got healed. So he was not really blinded, but the heat kind of temporarily hurt his eyes, but not for long. So this idea of that, why crying? We have to suffer sometimes. After we suffer and we learn things, we see our true situation, and then we get out of our suffering. We all get lost in the wilderness. We all have to go into a wilderness sometimes, and we get out of it. Then the tower, of course, represents some kind of ideas we may have. We're caught up in it. We can't really get down from it. And I've given a bit of a kind of explanation here. 5.3.2.2, the tail significance. 5.3.2.2. Psychologically, we can see Rapunzel as a liberation story, in a sense that of a struggle of personal growth in the face of hindrances. Okay? So you find that Rapunzel's father was trying to satisfy the pregnant wife's desire, so he had a problem with desire, and he is forced to steal, right? So one thing leads to another, right? And then Rapunzel is the child in us. In every one of us, there is a kind of Rapunzel, the child in us. And then the witch is a kind of authority figure, if you like, and someone who's overprotective. And this might be ourselves, that our unwillingness to learn, for example. We think that we're always right, that's the witch in us, if you like. Now, what about the long growing hair? It represents that we somehow want to be mature. You know, I remember when I've been teaching for decades in various institutions of learning. I meet young people in the Buddhist classes, and some of them can become quite fanatical. And they follow one tradition and say, oh, this is right, and a hard time telling them to keep their minds open. Then they graduate, then they get a job, then they get married. 30 years later, they meet me, they are old, I'm older, and they tell me, oh, you know, now I'm more open, you know, thank you for teaching me all those things. And it's very refreshing to see them mature and more open-minded, no more fanatical. Okay? So they have come down from their high tower, their hair has grown long, and here the singing represents our natural inner feeling. There is this joy in us, if we allow it, this joy will be there. And singing represents this joy. And the young prince also represents, if you like, spiritual friendship, a joy to be with someone. And there's twin happiness, if you like. Twin happiness in the sense of truth and beauty combining in a balance. Okay? So you can interpret the story in that way. This is one of the ways, other ways of looking at it. So, this last month, attachment to rituals and vows means self-reliance. The problems are created within us, so we have to solve them within ourselves. If we do make any vow, it should be an aspiration to be free from suffering to our self-effort. So how do we break these three factors then? By constantly reflecting on impermanence. To be more exact, there's a term here, perception of impermanence. That means habitually reflecting that everything around us, everything inside us are impermanent. How does that help? If you reflect, for example, my body is impermanent, my mind is impermanent, you are less likely to identify with your body. If you say, even my doubt now, this ignorance I have now is impermanent, sooner or later I will find the answer. Right? So that's a reflection in impermanence. Okay? You know, for example, sometimes I do my translation and there is a reference to a sutta quote. I couldn't find it. I have to put it down so that it's easy to locate it. So I looked all over, I couldn't remember it. But I told myself, it's okay. I'll find it sooner or later. So I usually will put 3 stars there to remind me there is a note that's not finished. And true enough, sometimes within the hour I will get it. Right? So in other words, impermanence means to just learn to let go for the moment and let what comes next to come. Not to be worried about it, not to be all worked up. And you find all the right things will come in at the right time. Something like that, yeah? So, then you reflect impermanence again. Then you find you don't need rituals and vows. Because as you reflect on impermanence, you tell yourself, I'm also growing, I'm also learning. Because this reflection in impermanence de-traumatizes you. De-traumatize, that means preventing you from having shocks. Let me give you a simple case of someone who got traumatized. This person believed in the God idea, right? The kind of fixation, the kind of identifying with something, okay? So he goes around saying, oh, you know, God give me all these blessings, I'm rich, I have a good business, I'm healthy, because God gave me all these blessings, because I believe in God. Why don't you join me, come to my church or the holy place? And this is a real story, by the way. And one day, the doctor announced that he had terminal cancer. And he got a shock. He got very upset. The story went that he got so upset that he started shouting and said, why does God punish me with this? No, I've been working so hard for the church and I believe in all this, So he blamed the very image of respect that he created by himself. That's exactly what we don't want. Because this person has spiritualized God, this person is trying to own God, identify with God. But here we say everything's impermanent. Everything changes. So when we see this change, whether through faith or through wisdom, we say, oh yeah, there it is. Pain arises, we say it's impermanent. Joy arises, we also say it's impermanent. We take both with the same token, so to speak. And then where you find success, failure, in a sense, they mean the same to you. You're happy with both. Isn't that wonderful when you can be happy whether success or with failure? Now, like I said, during the classes, many of these centers, in the universities also, sometimes a few people only come for various reasons. At the beginning of the year, a lot of people come. Then as the exams and paper writing come in, you find less and less people come for Sutta class. And so you just got 2 or 3 people. But I say, wow, 2 or 3 is great. I say, I was to teach you. We don't give out just because 2 or 3 people come. So, in other words, it's not the big number. The Dharma is such that even if one person comes, we still teach. Even if we're left to ourselves, we still practice. We don't give up. So, impermanence, in other words, is telling us, just be prepared. Life is never what you expect it to be. It can be full of surprises, but you're never shocked when those surprises come to you, because you're telling yourself everything is impermanent. Everything changes. Okay? So once you have this kind of comfort, you find the negative emotions don't arise in you, and you find you don't need to be approved by your friends to be happy. You don't need to wear nice clothes to impress your friends. You don't have to use nice makeup to improve others. People accept you just as you are. Occasionally, some imaginative people have told me, why don't you change the way you dress? Dress with nice coat and pants, wear a tie. Maybe more people will come to your class. I said, oh no, they come on my tie, my coat, and for the teaching. or maybe have a title, People started calling me doctor. There was one time I said, please don't. I only went to Berkeley on an invitation. And I said, if you start calling me doctor, people will take me seriously for the wrong reasons. Because it's better to look like a fool and be recognized by the wise than simply to be followed by foolish people. So people come for the Dharma. You don't do it for me, because the Dharma is only good. Right? So we become emotionally independent. We don't depend on others to say nice things to us, to do nice things for us. We are happy. So even if nobody comes for class, happy, you can go home early. People come for class, good, Right? So these are others I took my class. I said, well, you cancel class, it's fine with me, and I have more time to do my translation. If you say there's a class, that's good too, I can come and teach you suttas. Either way, I'm happy. One of the happiest moments in my this week is, I'm going to come for this class. It's a wonderful feeling coming. And now I'm very happy because we're going to end in a few minutes. Right? So both ways you are happy. There's something to learn about life. Okay? If you can think that way, then you are emotionally dependent on others. Or at least on the way to be emotionally dependent on others. And if you add in your reflection and impermanence, and you make the aspirations, I want to attain stream winning in this life itself. Aspiration, just aspiration. You find, end of your life, you will become a stream winner. And this is guaranteed by the Buddha, by the way, in S25. Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 25. Okay, it's just nice to finish in time. Now, this last part of the sutta has got an addendum, appendix, identifying personality disorders. This is just for you to read in free time, because these are the 10 kinds of psychological, emotional problems. Because this topic is about emotional independence, so it's just to help us recognize difficulties some people may have, and then to make it possible either help them or do something that can help them. Okay, we have a few minutes for questions, anyone?
Yeah, you mentioned the streaming.
Yeah, sorry.
For streaming, generally there are 7 lives.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. Okay, it's a question about stream winning, about 7 more lives to go. I've asked a number of months, what does the number 7 symbolize? Is it a finite number? No? The impression I get is actually it's probably symbolic. Because 7 seems to be a lucky number. And yet it's not too big, not too small. We can take it as 7 literally in a sense, and at the moment I really don't know the significance. But one thing we know from the way the suttas are taught, 7 lives can be very, very long. Just take one life. Let's say we pass away here and then we are reborn in one of the higher Deva worlds. That Deva world is many world cycles, Yeah, many kalpas. So that's a long time. But of course, those are happy lives. So that 7 lives they're very long lives. They're not necessarily human lives. Even if they're human lives, they're very long. Okay? Animal lives are very short. Like lives of a cat, dog. Only certain animals, maybe some animals may live a little longer, but as a rule, their lives are short. So here, the 7 lives means you have all that time. Somehow, those 7 lives, you'll be living under conducive circumstances where you will be able to practice, hear the Dharma. You will not fall below the human realm. You're able to keep the precepts properly. And if you live your life well in that sense, then you may have only 1 more life to go. That's called the once returner, and then next life you are awakened. Or you may go through a couple more lives, 3 lifetimes. You are reborn in various happy families. Or at the most, actually the term says Satapkatu Parama. Satapkatu Parama, it means 7 at most. At the most 7 lives.
This 7 is always a factor. I mean, all the numbers in Buddhism are always a factor of 7. Maybe 1,000 suttas, there's a factor of 7 steps, 7 lives.
Yes, 7 recurs. It does recur.
It's a factor of 7. All the numbers are factors of 7.
So some people say this about numerology. So people who love numerology get very excited about this 7. That's what it's got to do. When you tell stories, you like to use all these auspicious numbers and terms. But remember, they're just stories, I think.
So not to be taken literally.
Yes.
And so it's not necessarily 7 lives because it's such a arbitrary figure.
Well, anyway, the suttas themselves say it could be 1 more life, 3 more lives, but 7 at the most.
So if you are reborn in higher world, these 3 factors have to stop.
Yeah, you can still be broken. No, these factors are the factors are broken first. Then only 7 lives. Yeah, the factors are broken first. 7.
Before you become a stream, these 3 factors.
Yes.
So actually the numerology, the 7 is supposed to have an effect. So can we think as so-called if you are strong, say of 3 factors, the remaining life of the lives will be so-called effect in a certain way, so that it will affect so-called condition will lead you to liberation.
Well, yeah, we can say that in a way, but I wouldn't say it's a number that affects us. It's rather how you look at what happens. So different ways of talking about what happens.
Is he able to Pure Land master?
No Pure Land. Early Buddhism, there's no Pure Land. It's a later invention. Yeah, it's a...
Pure Land is a Mahayana.
Yes, Mahayana idea.
Yeah.
Of course, you see, originally, even the idea of Pure Land is based on the Satipatthana. The idea was meditation. But then slowly, over the decades and centuries, it became more and more ritualistic.
Was it based on Satipatthana?
One of the earliest sutta dealing with the teaching, the sutta is very long. This Paul Harrison is a specialist in this field. The title is something like the sutra on the meditation on the present Buddha. Okay, so you're supposed to picture the Buddha as if you're in front of him and you're bowing down and so on, and then you go to your meditation. You watch the body, you watch feelings, you watch your mind, you watch dharmas. It's supposed to be like that, isn't it? But then watching the Buddha took prominence. And that's
very distracting, isn't it?
no, it's a common teaching among some people who get distracted. The
What do you
teacher,
mean by watching the Buddha?
it means, let's say, at the start of your meditation, to calm yourself down, you bow before the Buddha image. The first thing you do when you enter a shrine hall, you bow before the Buddha image, right? So the idea is to get in the mood. See?
Okay.
So you picture the Buddha. So it's a kind of Buddha Nusati, and you calm yourself down by reflecting on the Buddha, especially for people with faith. Then once you are calm, it's easier to do Satipatthana. So the sutta described in detail Satipatthana. Then slowly the new suttas are written, the Satipatthana became less and less, and the Buddha aspect became more detailed. And then later someone added in the reciting the Buddha's name and so on. There you have reciting the Buddha's name.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have the Amitabha tradition. And then when you went to Japan, Japan, they got so many of the social problems, earthquakes, impending attacks from China, and tsunami, all this. They face so much huge life-threatening situations. So any whisper of hope is welcome. So someone there decided to say, oh, you just recite Amitabha's name, you go to heaven. You go to a pure land, and you only need to have faith. That's all. You need to have faith in Amitabha. And that's what Martin Luther taught also. So people are surprised. The Amitabha, the Shin Buddhism of Japan, and evangelism of Martin Luther are so close. Grace through faith. That's what these Amitabha believers teach. Very similar. So these are later developments. Any other question? Yes, much later. Much later. So anyway, use whatever you're comfortable with. Okay? I mean, if you worship Kuan Yin, Amitabha, whatever, you do it properly. I mean, don't be superstitious. I mean, they are supposed to reflect the Buddha. So when you bow to them, you are ultimately bowing to the Buddha. And what does the Buddha teach? And so it's okay, teach impermanence. So you grow from there, So if you reflect on Pure Land, you say, oh, Pure Land is a nice place. Okay, you reflect on Pure Land, beautiful place. You say, wow, this is wonderful. This is how good karma works. And you feel very happy because of that. Then you have to let go of the idea. Okay, if you use that kind of idea. Of course, if you don't have this kind of ideas, it's even easier to just directly reflect. In fact, many of these Westerners today who are Buddhist practitioners, they don't need all these extra crutches. See? They go direct to practice. And you find they sit so easily meditating. And I think we can do that too. This is called ethnic Buddhism. Ethnic Buddhism has got lots of these packages. So it's harder to be an ethnic Buddhist than a convert Buddhist. It's one of those things that we need to know. Any other question? Sorry? Convert. You have two kinds of Buddhism today. Convert Buddhism, that means these are people who are very new, mostly Westerners or Westernized people. First time they hear Buddhism in different ways, then they practice. They're only interested in the suttas and meditation. And then we have the ethnic Buddhists. Ethnic Buddhists are the traditional Buddhists who are born Buddhists or they are born into a culture and then they follow that method. Okay? The problem with ethnic Buddhism is the race comes first. So in a sense it's quite racist, race-based. You have, for example, Sinhalese Buddhism, Thai Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. So the race always first. Okay. Now you have Western Buddhism. It's quite tricky also. So, but when Buddha taught the Dharma, he says no race, no class, it's just Dharma, you see. Anatta, no self.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't mean that ethnic Buddhism is bad. The point is, there are a lot of things you got to understand there. Okay? For example, it's wonderful to have a country which is based on Buddhism, with a long history of Buddhist culture. It's easy to start studying Buddhism there. But by the very same token, it can be harder to explain the Dharma to them because there are ingrained beliefs. That's one problem, see? So we have to see how we can work with the situation.
Because religion is very cultural, so it's very, it's that is why you say Chinese Mahayanese or Tibet,
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, Buddhism, Tibet, because all religions are very cultural. It takes on the color and flavor of
Yeah.
the locale. And
So what we can do here is we can see in terms of progression. See? On the human level, there is culture. Whichever temple you go to, you will belong to one group anyway. But once you sit down and meditate, you go beyond that. You need to go beyond that. Otherwise, you won't be at peace with yourself.
I mean,
So,
wonderful. We just
yeah.
stuck to the
yes.
teachings,
Yeah.
pure teachings.
So in other words, we can, of course, let's say that we can celebrate any of the ethnic festivals. Yeah, there's no problem with that. But we must be open-minded enough to say there is this higher aspect which is universal, or to use a modern word, ecumenical, where we can accept others also. Generally, Buddhists are quite open. We are friendly to each other no matter what race. Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly. Once the Buddha got enlightened, he's no more Indian. Okay? It becomes a global. Yeah, that's what aunties like to say. So that's why we don't normally follow aunties' wisdom.
Well, in fact, normally if we start becoming Indian, once you awaken, you're nobody.
Yes. So anyway, we got to begin somewhere and just tell people that there are higher things in life. This is what we're saying. There will come a time you might say even to call yourself an earthling would be racist or whatever. You know, we meet people from other planets, right? To look ahead. I mean, there was a time the white men thought they were only race and they saw black, brown, yellow skin, they got a shock. And we also got a shock when we saw them the first time. Okay. Any other question? No more questions, huh? Okay, so and here with a short reflection. Today we have looked at how to break the three fetters. In other words, how to become a stream winner, how to awaken in this life itself. This is a wonderful reminder to us from the Buddha, telling us not to wait too long. This is our golden opportunity because the Dharma is available to us, the suttas are available to us. There are places we can come to and comfortably study all these wonderful teachings. And we are reasonably healthy, and our minds are reasonably clear to understand all these things. The conditions are all just right. But we must never take all these things for granted because they're all impermanent. Reflecting on these truths, we should be energized, motivated to study the Dharma more, practice more. By such good karma, by our practice of the precepts of generosity, meditation, and many other good deeds, may we be well and happy in this life itself. That we may continue to deepen and broaden our wisdom of liberation. By this same token, by the goodness of the three jewels, may we aspire to attain spiritual awakening, especially stream winning, in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here, to all the people here, that they will be well and happy. May all those who come here to be well and happy. And may all those we love, people we care for, to be well and happy and blessed. And also those whom the Dharma have not touched, that they may see the Dharma for themselves and be happy and be good and kind people. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.